Hi there, all you beautiful people, furry and non-furry of course. Do you want to know a bit more about me and how I ended up here as a furry and as a fursuit maker? And are you like me, the way I was, feeling sort of lost and unsure and not knowing where I was going with anything? And do you want to first peek at what it's like being a business owner? So last week I was so nervous in the end about making my first video ever that I somewhat dived straight into talking about what furries are and trying to show people what furries really are, and in an attempt to help against all the controversy and negative stereotypes that surround furries, that in the end I sort of forgot to actually present myself properly. I very, very briefly sort of said one or two things, but it wasn't quite enough. So here we go. As I said, my artist name is Fire Stormwing, Firi for short. I am finally owner of the registered business Fur Your Spirit, and this is purely for the fursuits. Firi is here. Firi will remain my main fursona. I do have plans for other fursonas, but Firi is it's my fursona, let's say. The others will be other characters that I shall make for myself, definitely for me, but Firi is the one that will represent me the most. Now, unfortunately last time, poor Firi was meant to be in the shot, and unfortunately I didn't realise in the last video that she was pretty much just out of the shot. You could just see the top of her head. Anyway, do not worry, we shall come back to Firi though. Firi will make an appearance later on at the end of this video. So me, I am French, English, and I grew up in France and currently live in Italy. So that being said, if any of you want to speak to me in French, English, Italian, that's fine. Not a problem. Do comment below if you are interested in getting French, Italian subtitles, if you find this a bit difficult for you, maybe in English. So let's see. I see so many young upcoming teen fursuiters and furries and fursuit makers. I must admit I have been and still am actually a bit daunted by the fact that I've only got into this now in my sort of early 30s, and apparently I'm already classified as a grey muzzle, so an older furry. So it was a bit of a shock when I found out that 30 was that sort of limit. But anyway, that's not a problem. The reason that I am starting now is that I have sort of gone around all sorts of other odd non-artistic jobs in fear of taking that leap to live off my artistic side. Now, I have always been artistic, and I mean, and as I said in the previous video, now that I look back, I know I was a furry all this time. But yes, I've always been artistic as well. And unfortunately, originally, I never really considered it as a professional path. I mean, at school, I never thought, oh, I want to be an artist when I grow up, or even when I was in high school, it wasn't really the way I thought about it. And then when I finally did consider it as a possible professional path, I just didn't have enough faith in myself. So in the meantime, I have experienced various interesting jobs, such as babysitting, in-home carer, receptionist, and English-French teacher. So these jobs have been very useful to me to sort of work out maybe what I wanted to do. In a non-artistic world, I had considered more working with children. My job as an in-home carer for 3 years for one person was really, really something that helped me discover how much I loved working with people and helping people. So it was very hard to give up those sides of me as well, but it was necessary for me to go through those steps and to realize that yes, whilst I'll always want to do things like that sometimes, and I might help out people and things like that, that's not a problem, but it wasn't what I wanted to do professionally. And I think that was really important for me to go through those steps. And of course, fortunately, it also gave me that backup job. And I mean, yes, go for it. If you know that's what you want to do when you're in high school, coming out of high school, go for it straight away, yes. But do have in mind a plan of sorts, something that you know you can do if it doesn't work, or maybe even more importantly, if you need some sort of backup money, backup income to at least live whilst you're trying to make it as an artist. So for me, that was always like a safety net when I started to leave those domains, and which sort of helped encourage me to believe that I could actually do this. I mean, the need, I mean, I graduated in 2007, and it was only in 2017, so 10 years later, that I really sort of came back to realize that I really needed to be an artist of sorts. I needed to create things. And so this was in 2017, and it all started by chance with my sort of first unofficial business, Menagerie of Felt Enchantments, which was something that came out of nowhere. That was really, I mean, it was not even planned. They were meant to just be gifts, and it all sort of turned into a little mini cottage industry nearly. I was making all these little felt mice. So they were really what started everything again, and gave me that little taste of now freedom. I mean, when I look back afterwards, I mean, it's not exactly freedom one has, but there is a type of freedom that one has, making your own things and deciding what to make and being able to sell it. And so I did do that for a while, and I also did a bit of needle felting and made some little mice, obviously mice. That's the other thing you need to know about me. I actually have 3 pet rats, and so in this case, I obviously have a lot of crafty things oriented towards rats, mice, that family. Mice did work for a bit, but in the end, after a year, I sort of realized that it wasn't really a viable business, at least not on the business front. And I think maybe it could have been, but it wasn't, not the way I wanted it to be. It wasn't going to work the way I wanted it to. For me, and certainly not in the scale or practice that I wanted. So it was in 2019 that I did attempt a theatre costume school, very briefly for a few months, but it made me realize that it was not really for me either, because I knew that the level of work that was needed for me to succeed or get to the level to be able to make something out of it needed more dedication than I was sort of willing to provide. Then I sort of attempted to launch a print-on-demand brand based on rat designs, rat drawings. This was named Rats and Tails Spree, which had a lot of trouble getting started. Thank you, COVID, for scuttling my first launch. Anyway, in the end, apart from COVID, Rats and Tails Spree never really took off anyway, so we'll see. I've sort of kept it in the background. I might come back to it. I did make a few designs where, I mean, I did do a few test runs, and I had things like this sweater, like that. I made special Ukraine version, and this one that I'm wearing now. And so these are really sort of like designs that I started up very quickly, actually, because I never worked on Photoshop before or anything. So it was my husband who helped me sort of do a quick crash course in Photoshop, and helped me obviously with some of the techniques, since I wasn't really up to scratch on things like the curves, especially for the rat tails. But yeah, I've been keeping that as a sort of in the back. I'm keeping it there. That being said, maybe not just on rats, but I will be continuing to print on demand with some more furry oriented designs. So I'll get back to you on that. So I guess my message here is that you should not fear failure, at least not to the point where it stops you from actually trying to do anything. I mean, I was at a point where I didn't even fear failure. It's just I was not even aware that I could do this. I mean, parents and society, schools, teachers, none of them are going to particularly encourage your artistic side when you're a child. I mean, they'll think, oh yeah, that's good, you're talented for that, on this and that, my child can do this, my child can do that. But when it comes to them considering your professional future, it's very hard for them to see their child go towards something that is so unsure, so unstable. People want security, people want stability generally. And to see even friends and other people around you doing these sort of jobs that are considered unstable, it's alarming. And I mean, society in itself does not encourage this. I mean, society certainly in Western society, and I know certainly in France, art, music, all these things are not that valued at school. They are considered more like side subjects, and it's not something that you get points for, let's say. I mean, you do that in maybe college up to like when you're 15, and then after that the art does not exist at all anymore in your curriculum, and let alone any house stuff that you need. I've known in some northern schools they also have things like gardening, sewing and things like that, and I think cooking, and I think that is absolutely amazing. But certainly in our countries here, they do not value any practical day-to-day stuff, and certainly not the artistic stuff. So it's up to you to go and find those schools that you can maybe learn your whatever trade you want to do, whatever art you want to do. It's up to you to fight for it. And I mean, if you don't know about it, I didn't really know about it at the time, so I didn't do much about it. And I didn't particularly, it wasn't that it's more that I just didn't even know that I could do that. So don't make that mistake. Find that nowadays we are in a world where we've got internet all around us. We are surrounded by information. A lot of it is rubbish. You find the information that is useful to you to do your art school, to get where you want to go. I think also my other problem, I think which was a major one for me, was that I was often very, very distracted. I wanted to do so many things. Have you started lots of things and not finished them? Or do you want to do so many things that you just don't know where to start, and so in the end you just don't do anything? I mean, that's been entirely me. I mean, originally, even artistically, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I wanted to paint, I wanted to draw, I wanted to sing, to dance, to sew, to play an instrument, and even then different instruments. I wanted to work with wood, I wanted to do sculpture. There was just too much in my mind that I was never able to say, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. So I think in this case, if you're like that, try to get a hold of yourself early, because that's what I just let myself be dragged along by that. Get your list of things you want to do and prioritize. Maybe you could try and discipline yourself enough and select 3 to 4 of these projects. I mean, if you've got a whole long list, select maximum 3 to 4 of these projects, and maybe say, right, you can dedicate yourself to each one after the other for a year or 2 years. You set like a time span like that, and that way at least you might go into a bit of more depth and actually learn something about each one. This is what I wish I had done, because by wanting to do so much I just never learned anything about any of these things. So I mean, in the end I ended up sort of finally getting round to this other option, which was I ended up with these 3-4 projects that I had in mind, and just by trying to do them all I just couldn't. And I realized now I already had in mind that I wanted to be a business owner, and I realized that I couldn't keep all these projects, and so I've slowly been forced back down to doing less and less until I finally fixed on one project. And I mean, this is where it's your heart and your mind that will tell you which is your priority, which one is going to win against the others. Fursuit making was also on the list of things I wanted to do, but more of on a leisurely front, because my first suit was technically a quad suit back in 2011. It was pretty awful, but I didn't even really know that fursuits existed, let alone there being a fandom, a furry fandom. I just wanted to do I loved wolves, so I wanted to do a wolf costume for the Japan Expo in Paris when my friends were cosplaying, which I did do a bit of that too. But I mean, it was just for fun, and it was only until like 2014 when I actually discovered that fursuits existed. And then in 2016, when I had for the first time in my life, I had that sort of revelation moment when I was watching this video about some known fursuit makers, a list of known fursuit makers, and I just had that feeling, it's like, I want to be on one of those videos one day. I want to be up there one day. This was back in 2016, which somewhat makes me despair, but yeah, it was 2016. And at the time, I did started to practice making some suits, heads particularly, and I made a husky, this one here. I made, so I continued. I mean, I followed the fandom from afar. I didn't make any more suits. I just like trundled along, let's say. As I said, I had my own projects that I started up. And I mean, after the mice, then after the school, and then rats, and also, unfortunately, some major personal changes in my life as well, it suddenly became clear to me that I did need to continue in this line. I knew I needed to do this, and it was slowly coming back to me that, I mean, the mice had given me that taste of freedom of doing one's own thing. The school had showed me, in fact, that technically I was capable and probably better off doing it myself. And I mean, I realized, yes, that I could actually manage it on my own. And yes, you are on your own. Hopefully with the support of family and friends. But when you start up a business, you are on your own. And that is a terrifying prospect sometimes. So do think about joining groups of other similar people to help against the overwhelming side of being a business owner. Now, many mock and criticize or lack respect towards the at-home business owner, saying that, oh, you can do what you want, you can sleep when you want, you don't have to work if you don't want to, you get to stay at home and relax. And often it is harder for other people to sort of respect your working hours because for them you're not at work. And I mean, even yourself, I mean, for me, it's so hard to separate my time from when I'm meant to be working and when's my sort of home, rest, relax time. And I mean, yes, there is a part of freedom. You can move things around if you want to have add appointments and stuff. I mean, yeah, it's a lot easier. You don't have to go and ask a boss if you can get an time off for an appointment or something. You're your own boss, so yes, you can, if you need to make appointments or do things in the day, that's fine, and you shift your work over to the evening. But then that's where it gets very complicated, is not mixing it up and not letting all the work time take over all your time. I mean, there is a lot of work. I mean, technically you are doing several people's jobs. You have to deal with all the paperwork, the taxes, the calculating the prices, dealing with the bills, getting quotes, buying the materials, doing all the marketing yourself, all the content creation, like this video. I mean, this video, we come up to like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes maybe more. That's just the video that you are seeing. You've got all the time around writing the text, planning it, filming it, all the mistakes, all the editing. And it's just, it is overwhelming sometimes when you think that you're doing all this. And I mean, that's not even the actual creation part of your work. Then there's all the creation side that you need to do. And then obviously, like everybody else, you've got all the in-home stuff that is left. And I cannot even begin to imagine the people who actually have children as well and have to have time for them and their family as well. It is sometimes terrifying, but you need to believe in yourself. And whatever people say, if you feel this is for you, if all that is worth it to be able to do your art, worth fighting for it, then don't flap around like I did. Don't, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I don't know what to do with my life. It's just like, no, try it. Do try it. Because if you don't try, you definitely won't succeed. I mean, that's a fact. And I mean, maybe like me, you'll try lots of different projects and maybe they won't work out. But I mean, just keep going. Test different things if you don't know which one you want to do beforehand. I mean, if you already know, that's awesome. If you already know, just go for it. But I mean, at worst, like me, yes, you just have to test things. You have to keep testing until you find what you want. And I mean, failures teach you something new every time. I mean, they'll teach you stuff about yourself, about the lifestyle, about the art that you might want to do. I mean, maybe you will learn that the unstable income, all those work with the uncontrolled hours and having to discipline yourself so much, maybe it's not the right lifestyle for you. But that also is important to know. And yes, so then maybe you'll change back to another employee job, and that's fine. But if you do want to do something artistic and you find it worth fighting for, and you dedicate yourself as much as possible to getting it, then yeah, maybe you will succeed. Dream big. No matter how small you are, always dream big. And for me, it was, yes, it was just, it all started, well, I mean, really started with that video, and where I just sort of had that revelation thanks to the beauty of fursuits, and that's finally 2016, and I've only just made my fursona this year. This year, the beginning of this year, I finally made my fursona Firi. So let me present Firi a little bit. I'm sorry, in the last video he was rather cut off on the screen. I had hoped to position him a bit more in the shot, but unfortunately, having moved the camera, he somewhat disappeared. So here he is, and let's see, where's the... Oh, sorry, excuse me. Oh, dear, sorry. Oh, dear. So, Firi was born this year. Many people ask what species Firi is, but technically she is a sort of hybrid, and even then not a hybrid of any specific species. So she is actually a combination of different traits that I wanted. I wanted the canine muzzle, I wanted the horns, I wanted the blue eyes and the big floppy ears. I also wanted wings, and as you can see up here in the full body picture. And obviously I wanted the moon symbols, which you can see here on the eyes, in the forehead and the other eye. And then I've also got them here, 2 full moons, which are not exactly round, but I must shave that a bit better. And as you can see in the full suit, I've got the moons down the back as well. You may have noticed that I refer to Firi sometimes as he, sometimes as she. I often change between the two. And this is not a mistake. It's actually on purpose, because for me, Firi is both female and male. I do not want to use the term they, because I do not want to erase the characteristics of either gender. For me, Firi is actually both. Because I often believe in balancing things like opposites, like the yin yang, sun and moon. For me, so that's why Firi will often be referred to as he or and she. However, I think, and I mean, wearing Firi for the first time and finally making my own fursona and seeing this come to life was just like so amazing. And they've already had a few upgrades here. I redid the horns, I redid a couple of little things, but it was amazing to wear Firi, and I can't wait for the next convention. However, that being said, I do not know if this particular suit is going to see another convention. I have been on such a steep learning curve lately that I do think I will probably be making a Firi 2.0 when I can find the time to do this. There are so many things I have learnt to do since making this Firi already that I believe there needs to be a few new things, like the eyes will need bringing closer together. I need to redo the hand paws. I need to redo the feet, which actually turned out to be too wide, making it quite hard to walk properly. I made Firi with minimum sort of knowledge, since it was my first sort of proper full suit, doing it correctly compared to my sort of one-off original one, that quad suit, which I did in 2011. This Firi does not represent the work that I can do now already. It's a bit of a shame. I mean, I think I might keep the head for a bit, depending on how much time I've got to work on it. I definitely need to redo the hand paws. I need to redo the feet paws. Definitely have a new pattern now that's working well for the feet paws. So that will be really the aim in the near future once I get my commission finished. So far I am probably going to go to the same conventions as this year. Verizon in Italy in May, Eurofurence in Germany in August, and FBL in France, which I was actually meant to attend this year already, but unfortunately I had to cancel due to some health issues. Hopefully I will have a dealer's den in each one, and so cross fingers. I hope to see you there. I am really excited to see those I know again. And of course, I can't wait to meet all you new furries. Don't hesitate to come and say hi to me. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what all your projects are, what fursonas you want to create or already have. And don't forget to hit that notification button to get my video every Friday. Huge furry hugs to all. Bye.